At the Sierra Madre, we can learn about a mysterious man known only as Mr. Yesterday. Yesterday was the manager in charge of the Sierra Madre Villa construction. On the surface, he was a likable man full of charisma who Frederick Sinclair, the founder and owner of the Sierra Madre, trusted. But that was a big mistake. Because Yesterday was in fact a con artist, and the villa was to be his biggest con yet. The money Sinclair provided went towards materials and labor, but the thing is, Yesterday bought the cheapest materials he could find, and he recruited a skeleton crew just enough to build the villa on time. Naturally, a large sum of money was left unspent, only it didn't go back to Sinclair or towards other projects. Instead, a small portion went towards bribes, while the rest went into his own personal accounts. But there's a limit as to how cheap you can build something before health and safety comes into question. As a result, many accidents occurred, with the most prominent being the patio collapse in Salida del Sol. Only Yesterday hushed the entire thing. Witnesses were paid off, medical reports were deleted, and all remaining problems scrutinized. Yesterday didn't care if people got hurt, or worse, all he cared about was turning a profit, and with the help of the corrupt villa staff, he did just that. However, when the cloud placed at the Madre by Big Mountain as part of its research program began to manifest itself, workers fell ill and the construction halted. Since the workers were unable to continue working, they were not paid in full. Instead, Yesterday gave them a pitiful amount of money, along with various chems to alleviate their suffering. Anyone could be bought off with enough money, chems, or favors, but there was someone outside of Yesterday's little scheme who wanted to learn more about the cloud. And I'm not talking about Sinclair, rather the villa's physician. Unable to investigate the cause of the cloud himself, the physician had one of the foremen take a look around on his behalf. However, this particular foreman was already in on the scheme, and he decided to use this new information, that is, the threat of the villa's condition going public, to blackmail Yesterday into receiving a bigger percentage of Sinclair's money. Though, at the meeting with Mr. Yesterday, the foreman had a nasty accident. The fall broke both his leg and neck, but what actually killed him was bleeding out before anyone found him. As far as anyone could tell, it was a classic case of wrong place, wrong time. Soon after, the bombs fell. The villa was never finished, and Yesterday was never heard of again. Or was he? Well, Mr. Yesterday shares quite a few similarities with a certain character that we can actually meet, and that is Dean Domino. Domino, a pre-war lounge singer, now full-time ghoul, performed across the United States and Europe before he was personally invited to perform at the Sierra Madre, but he quickly found himself in the shadow of the casino's founder, Frederick Sinclair. Despite Domino and Yesterday having no clear connection, they share similar goals, traits, and mannerisms that suggest they are in fact the same person. Domino, much like Yesterday, was scamming Sinclair, and specifically trying to ruin him beyond the point of being able to recover. Ensuring the villa remains unfinished and unusable would certainly help towards that goal. And there is something that implies Yesterday wasn't just scamming Sinclair out of as much money as he could, but also preparing for the villa to fail completely. In Salida del Sol North, there's a terminal entry titled Personal Log. It's written by one of the corrupt villa staff, and it covers the patio collapse, the deletion of records, bribes, and other such things undertaken by Yesterday. The writer mentions how the whole thing is a big gamble. It wouldn't be long before people saw the villa for what it was, sand barely held together with spit and glue. It was almost as if Yesterday didn't want the place to last. Maybe that was Yesterday's plan all along. The pilfered funds were just a bonus. And there's something else too. In another terminal entry titled More Explosives, the foreman explains how more demolition charges have showed up. He checked with Yesterday, who didn't know anything about the shipment, but the foreman also wrote that the explosives could be something Yesterday ordered. They already had enough explosives on site, so what would Yesterday need them for? Unless he was planning to blow up the road to the villa. This could be a part of Yesterday's plan, not to prevent people from getting in, but to prevent them from leaving, forcing them to stay and observe the poor quality of work. That alone would be a major blow to Sinclair's reputation and finances. It's almost as if Yesterday had some kind of personal grudge against Sinclair, and the deeper you look, the less it becomes about the money and more about sending a message, which just screams Dean Domino. By now you must be asking, if Sinclair trusted Yesterday, then they must have met on multiple occasions. So why didn't Sinclair recognize Domino? Well, I can think of two reasons. Either Domino blackmailed an actor into pretending to be Yesterday while he was the one actually in charge, or he used makeup and prosthetics to disguise himself. Either way, Domino is the one pulling the strings. And then there's the fact that after the foreman's accident, Domino swung by to see how the rest of the workers were getting on. In a terminal entry titled Chat, a worker recounts how Domino, a singer who has no business with the construction, came by to check on them. During the conversation, Domino asked them if they were being paid as befits their skills. He said if they weren't, then to go and see him and he'd set them up. But the author of the note wasn't stupid. He'd seen the percentages and knew someone was making an absolute killing off the corners they were cutting. To him, it sounded as if Domino and construction, meaning Yesterday, were actually working together. This entry does everything but confirm Domino and Yesterday are the same person. I don't think Domino was being nosy or trying to work out if there's some extra money to be made. Instead, Domino was scouting out for any more potential blackmailers. The foreman wanted more money, and that is exactly what Domino was offering to the rest of the workers. More hush money to keep them quiet while Mr. Yesterday, his alter ego, finished the villa scheme. Another terminal entry, a personal log from the foreman of the Salida del Sol, reveals that he actually asked Mr. Yesterday how come no one's wised up to his scheme, and Yesterday merely winked and said someone was watching out for them. An ace in the hole. That is exactly the kind of thing Domino in disguise would say. In fact, it's exactly what he says to the player.
Good, good, then we're in business. I may be a betting man, but I like it when the odds are in our favor. If you're here with who I think, then I'd rather have you on my side than his. An ace in the hole. You want to live, I want what's in the Madre. Real simple. So, giving the Sierra Madre one last nod and a wink, he set off beyond the cloud to begin again.
This could be nothing, but Domino and Yesterday are the only two characters in Dead Money to wink. They are also the only two characters who use the phrase ace in the hole, a mannerism and phrase that even in disguise Domino couldn't help but do and say. But the cherry on top has to be the name of the holotape found in Vera's room in the backstage of the Tampico Theatre. The holotape contains one of Dean Domino's melodies, and it's called Saw Her Yesterday, the inspiration for his alter ego. Domino wanted to ruin Sinclair. He blackmailed Vera Keyes into helping him, a heartbreaking realization for Sinclair, who loved her dearly. He also created an alias to ensure the villa was never finished, delivering a devastating blow to Sinclair emotionally, financially, and socially. The wealthy and elite would never see Sinclair the same again. While the casino heist was a complete bust, you could argue the villa scam was a raging success. Only Domino was careful not to leave any evidence behind. Nothing concrete, nothing actually tying him to Mr. Yesterday. And that was by design, for Sinclair to realize at a later date, just enough to convince Sinclair that Domino was behind it all, but not enough to prove it. Which is why Mr. Yesterday's true identity is still a mystery. Be sure to show your support by liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already for more Fallout content. If there's anything you'd like to see in a later video, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. With that said, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.